The story of Arthas is the greatest Warcraft story ever told. It is so essential to everything that transpires in World of Warcraft because it is that sort of like essential narrative at the heart of Warcraft 3 way, way back in the day.
There's got to be some other way.
Damn it, Uther. As your future king, I order you to purge this city!
So for anyone who remembers those old games, who loves the Warcraft franchise, Arthas is such a key part of that. So it's really exciting to be able to kind of tell his story in full here finally in Hearthstone for the first time.
Jaina?
I'm sorry, Arthas. I can't watch you do this.
One of the things that we noticed in the last couple of years working on the game was that we'd had a slight different tone that we shifted to a couple years ago, starting with Forged in the Barrens. More serious, more true to the roots of Warcraft, and players really responded to that well. So the wacky, zany stuff that Hearthstone's known for is not going away, but we knew that as we were going to be dealing with the Lich King and Arthas, some pretty serious subject matter, that we were going to try to play it straight. And so we wanted to tell a story that felt epic, that felt dangerous, and really highlighted the power of the Scourge. And so that's how we settled on this sort of invasion of Silvermoon. This is a real event that transpired in the history of Warcraft, and we really wanted to be able, like, I think the way it started was, either Chad or I sent a like clip art graphic to one another, which was the city of Silvermoon, and then Ziggurat, Naxxramas or Akris sort of looming over it like a giant UFO mothership, right? That to me was like, this is how we're going to distinguish it from the other expansion, right? We've gone to Icecrown, now Icecrown's coming to us. There's so many ways in Hearthstone to tell stories. It might not seem like it at first, right? It's a card game, these little pictures, right? But what we actually have is a ton of different ways to express narrative. Some of it's through the cards and gameplay. You look at the rune types of the new Death Knight class, and each one really sells a flavor, so that when you're a Blood Death Knight, it feels like you're this grindy, strong, immovable object. When you're Unholy, it feels like you're sending this swarm of ghouls after your enemy.
Rise and serve your king.
So tapping into that, just the feeling of it alone is evocative of like the lore of the Death Knight. And then within the card art itself, you see key moments from the story depicted in spell art or iconic characters and minions. Flavor text also is a way that you can inject more story and a lot more puns. Those are important. And then single player content. So as part of the release of March of the Lich King, we're going to be introducing a new free Death Knight prologue, which tells the story of Arthas battling some of the most iconic characters in Warcraft's history in Hearthstone, getting to try out a bunch of these new decks and strategies that you'll get to use upon completion of the prologue. In terms of the story, Arthas was the Prince of Lordaeron, one of the great human kingdoms of Azeroth. An evil demon sort of destroyed one of his cities. He was, heartbroken over this, tortured. He felt guilt that these people had suffered and died. And so he set out on this quest for revenge and would stop at nothing to get it. He ended up taking this sword called Frostmourne, this cursed blade that damaged his soul and gave him the Death Knight's powers, but at the expense of whatever lingering morality he may have had. So he had to sort of sell his soul in order to get the revenge he wanted. And then absolute power corrupts absolutely. He eventually descends into this evil, monstrous character called the Lich King, who's one of the most powerful beings in Azeroth. And that's sort of where we end the prologue, right? When you get to now I'm the Lich King, and I'm gonna go crush that lame priest player on the ladder.
My apologies.
One of the things that's been really great about working on the prologue is that the characters that feature prominently in Arthas' story are characters like Uther and Sylvanas and Illidan, right? It's people who any Hearthstone player, even if you know nothing about Warcraft, it's like, well, I know who Illidan is, right? So having that as a touchstone has been really great, that the world of Warcraft and Hearthstone are so very closely connected already. So it should feel like a lot of familiar ground, even if you're not familiar with the story. It's one of the great things about getting Death Knight into the game is that now we have this character who's so important to so many other characters in Warcraft, finally sort of taking their place in the pantheon of Hearthstone heroes.